You've probably been told that if a woman isn't interested, you should just give up, move on, or try harder to prove yourself. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Women don't miss men because they need them. They miss men because those men know how to create a powerful emotional presence, even in their absence. This video isn't about cheesy tricks or fake pickup lines. It's about understanding female psychology on a deeper level and how you can subtly position yourself so that even a woman who wasn't interested at first finds herself thinking about you when you're not around. Sounds impossible, right? But it's not. The truth is, indifference is not permanent. It's a reaction. And if you know how to flip that reaction, you can completely shift how a woman perceives you. Now, before we go any further, let me introduce myself. My name is Mary Smith, and I'm the host of the YouTube channel Mindful Senior Living, where we explore the psychology of relationships, emotional intelligence, and the deeper dynamics that shape human connection. And if you're watching this right now, chances are you've experienced that confusing moment many men face. You meet a woman who seems interesting, maybe even special. At first, things feel neutral, maybe even slightly promising, but then something shifts. She becomes distant, replies become shorter, her energy changes, and suddenly you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? Let me speak to you directly for a moment, because this matters more than most people realize. Attraction between men and women is rarely logical. It's emotional, it's psychological. And sometimes, the very things men believe will make a woman like them are the exact things that push her away. Have you ever noticed how the more effort some men put in, the less interest they seem to receive? Maybe you've seen a man who texts constantly, checks in all the time, and tries to be the perfect gentleman, yet somehow, the woman slowly drifts away. Meanwhile, another man barely tries, focuses on his own life, and she can't stop thinking about him. That contrast isn't random. It's psychology. Today we're going to talk about something that most relationship advice completely ignores. We're going to talk about emotional presence. The invisible psychological space a man occupies in a woman's mind even when he's not physically there. Because the truth is, missing someone isn't about dependency, it's about impact. When a man leaves a strong emotional imprint, a woman remembers him. She wonders about him. She imagines what he's doing. She notices his absence, and that absence becomes powerful. Now, I want you to imagine something for a moment. Think about a person you once found intriguing. Maybe it was someone you met briefly, someone who didn't reveal everything about themselves, someone who had their own life and didn't constantly seek your attention. There was something about them that made you curious, wasn't there? You thought about them after the interaction ended. You wondered what they were doing. You replayed the conversation in your mind. That feeling right there is the beginning of missing someone. And here's the key point most men never realize. Women don't miss men who are constantly present. They miss men whose presence had meaning. Before we go deeper into this, let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever had the experience where a woman seemed uninterested at first, but later came back into your life with a completely different attitude? Maybe she suddenly started messaging you. Maybe she seemed curious about what you were doing. If that has ever happened to you, then you've already witnessed this psychological shift in action. But before we continue, if you enjoy deep psychological insights about relationships and human behavior, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps this community grow, and it tells me that you want more conversations like this. Now let's talk about the first truth that many men struggle to accept. The harder you chase a woman, the faster she runs. This might feel unfair. It might even feel confusing. After all, in many areas of life, we're told that effort leads to results. Work harder, try harder, push more. But attraction doesn't work that way. In fact, chasing often produces the opposite effect. Picture a man who becomes fascinated with a woman he just met. He starts sending frequent messages. He responds instantly every time she texts. He compliments her often. From his perspective, he's being attentive. From her perspective, something else may be happening. She may begin to feel pressure. She may feel that his attention is coming too easily. And perhaps most importantly, she may sense that he values her attention more than he values his own time. Now, I want to be very clear here. There's nothing wrong with showing interest. But the difference between healthy interest and chasing is emotional imbalance. Chasing shifts the dynamic. Instead of two people exploring mutual interest, it becomes one person trying to convince the other. Think about it this way. Imagine someone offered you your favorite meal every single day, completely free. At first, that might sound wonderful, but after a while, the novelty fades. But if that same meal suddenly became rare, something you could only experience occasionally, it would start to feel special again. Human psychology responds strongly to scarcity, and curiosity is the birthplace of attraction. Have you ever noticed how people often become more interesting when they aren't trying too hard? There's a calmness in that, a self-assurance. That energy is powerful because it signals self-respect. And women are highly attuned to that signal. They may not consciously analyze it, but emotionally, they feel it. A man who constantly chases attention often communicates insecurity. But a man who can step back, focus on his own life, and allow space in the interaction communicates something very different. He communicates value. He communicates stability. Now, imagine a simple scenario. A man has been texting a woman several times a day. Most of the conversations are pleasant, but her responses start becoming shorter. She takes longer to reply. Many men respond to this by increasing effort, but a different approach changes the entire dynamic. Instead of pushing forward, he steps back. He stops texting for a couple of days. Not to punish her, not to manipulate her, but because he simply returns to his own life. He focuses on work, on friends, on hobbies, and something interesting often happens. She notices the silence. She checks her phone expecting to see his message. She wonders what he's doing. She becomes curious about why the dynamic changed. That curiosity is the first spark of missing someone. And this brings us to another psychological principle that most men overlook. Silence carries emotional weight. In modern dating culture, many believe that constant communication equals connection. But when communication becomes constant, it often loses emotional value. Words become routine, expected. Silence, however, interrupts that pattern. An interruption creates attention. When a man isn't constantly speaking, a woman has space to think. She wonders where he is, what he's doing. That wondering process is powerful because the human mind naturally tries to fill in missing information. We imagine, we speculate, we become curious. And curiosity keeps someone mentally present even when they aren't physically there. But let me pause for a moment. Silence should never be used as punishment. Healthy silence comes from a man having a life that doesn't revolve around constant messaging. He isn't ignoring her. He's simply living. The other feels confident. If you're finding this perspective helpful so far, I'd really like to hear from you. Take a moment and tell me in the comments. Have you ever experienced a situation where stepping back actually improved someone's interest in you? Your story might help someone else watching this video who is struggling with the same situation. Now let's explore another pattern that quietly damages attraction more than most men realize: being too available. This is one of the most common mistakes in modern relationships. A man meets a woman he likes, and suddenly she becomes the center of his schedule. He rearranges plans just in case she wants to meet. He responds instantly to every message. He makes sure she knows he is always there. From his perspective, this is dedication. From her perspective, it may feel predictable. And predictability removes excitement. Think about your own life for a moment. What experiences create the strongest emotions? Usually it's the things that require effort, patience, or anticipation. A dream job you worked toward for years, a trip you saved money for, a goal that once felt uncertain. The difficulty and anticipation amplify the emotional reward. But when something is always available without effort, the mind gradually assigns it less value. This doesn't mean relationships should be difficult or complicated. It simply means attraction thrives when two people maintain their individuality. A man with passions, friendships, responsibilities, and interests outside of a woman naturally creates a healthy rhythm of presence and absence. And that rhythm keeps emotional energy alive. When a woman sees that a man's life is full, she doesn't feel like his entire world depends on her reaction. Instead, she sees someone who stands firmly on his own foundation. That kind of independence is deeply attractive. It communicates emotional strength. It communicates stability. And stability creates safety. something many women instinctively look for when evaluating a potential partner. Now imagine two different men. The first man responds to every message immediately. He cancels plans to meet whenever she asks. He always seems available. The second man is warm, respectful, and engaging when they interact, but he also has commitments. Sometimes he says he's busy, sometimes he takes time before responding. Which one seems more intriguing? Most people instinctively feel drawn to the second man, not because he's playing games, but because his life has structure and meaning beyond the interaction, and that makes his attention feel valuable. Because attention given by someone with a full life feels like a choice, not a default. And when attention feels like a choice, it becomes meaningful. Now here's where things become even more interesting psychologically. Sometimes the most powerful emotional driver isn't attraction itself, it's uncertainty. When everything about a person is fully revealed immediately, the mind stops exploring. But when there are small unanswered questions, curiosity stays active. And curiosity is incredibly powerful. This brings us to something many men misunderstand: mystery. Mystery doesn't mean dishonesty. It doesn't mean hiding who you are. It simply means allowing a person to discover you gradually instead of revealing everything all at once. Think about your favorite movies or novels. What keeps you watching until the end? It's the unfolding, the discovery, the questions that slowly find answers. Human connection often works the same way. When someone reveals every thought, every plan, and every feeling immediately, the emotional journey becomes short. But when a person shares themselves gradually, layer by layer, the mind stays engaged. A woman begins wondering about the deeper parts of who he is, what motivates him, what experiences shaped him, what his world looks like outside their conversations. And those thoughts keep him present in her mind long after the interaction ends. Missing someone often begins in imagination, not in physical presence, and imagination thrives on mystery. Now, if this conversation is sparking new insights for you, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because in upcoming videos, we'll explore even deeper aspects of female psychology, emotional dynamics, and long-term attraction. In the next part of this discussion, we're going to explore something even more powerful: why competing for a woman's attention almost always backfires, why quiet confidence is more addictive than affection, and why the moment a woman feels she might actually lose you, her perception of you can completely change. And once you understand that shift, you'll start seeing relationships in a completely different light. Now let's continue with something that quietly sabotages many men without them even realizing it: competing for a woman's attention. In today's world, attention has become a kind of social currency. Social media, messaging apps, constant notifications, everyone is competing for visibility. And when a man likes a woman, it's easy for him to slip into that same mindset. He sees her posting pictures online, and suddenly he feels the urge to comment quickly before anyone else does. He notices other men liking her photos, messaging her, joking with her, and something inside him says, "I need to stand out. I need to prove I'm better than the rest." But here's the psychological truth most men overlook. The moment you start competing for a woman's attention, you've already placed her above you in the dynamic. And women can feel that shift almost instantly. Let's slow down and examine why this happens. When a man tries to outshine other men around a woman, he unintentionally communicates something subtle but powerful. He signals that her validation is something he must earn, that her attention is a prize worth fighting for. But attraction rarely grows in environments where one person is trying to prove their worth. Real attraction grows where two people naturally recognize each other's value. A man who truly understands his own worth doesn't feel the need to compete with anyone. He doesn't worry about who else is messaging her or who liked her photo first. His focus is on living his life, expressing himself honestly, and observing whether the connection between them is mutual. This mindset is powerful because it creates emotional stability. Imagine a woman surrounded by men who constantly seek her approval. They laugh at every joke she makes. They rush to respond to every post. They subtly try to outperform one another. Then imagine one man who behaves differently. He speaks with her when their paths naturally cross. He listens attentively. He contributes meaningful conversation. But he doesn't hover, he doesn't chase attention, he doesn't adjust his personality just to impress her. He remains himself. And something interesting happens when a person behaves this way, and their presence becomes incredibly memorable. Because authenticity is rare in environments where everyone is trying to perform. Women often say they want someone genuine, someone who isn't pretending, someone who doesn't treat them like a pedestal, but like a person. And yet, many men unknowingly do the opposite. They elevate her above themselves. They treat her attention like something sacred. But when you place someone on a pedestal, two things happen. First, you shrink yourself. Second, you create pressure for them to live up to that pedestal. Neither outcome builds real connection. Healthy attraction requires balance. Two individuals meeting as equals, respecting each other's time, energy, and individuality. Now, I want to ask you something that might feel a little uncomfortable, but it's important to reflect on. Have you ever found yourself adjusting your behavior around someone you liked? Maybe you laughed harder than you normally would. Maybe you agreed with things you didn't truly agree with. Maybe you tried to seem more impressive than you felt inside. Most people have done this at some point, but the problem is that attraction built on performance is fragile. Eventually, the real person underneath the performance has to appear, and when that happens, the connection can feel confusing or unstable. Confidence, on the other hand, is not a performance. Confidence is a quiet internal belief that you are enough exactly as you are, and that belief is incredibly attractive. Now let's talk about something deeper: confidence itself. There is a common misunderstanding that confidence means dominance, loudness, or arrogance. But true confidence rarely looks like that. True confidence is calm. It's the ability to remain centered even when situations feel uncertain. It's the ability to express your opinions without needing everyone to agree. It's the comfort of knowing that someone else's approval does not determine your worth. And when a woman senses this kind of emotional stability in a man, something shifts in the way she perceives him. Because confidence signals safety, it signals reliability, it signals strength. These signals matter more than many people realize because attraction isn't only about chemistry or excitement. At a deeper biological level, attraction often connects to survival instincts. Historically, women were wired to look for partners who demonstrated stability, leadership, and emotional control. Even in modern society, those ancient patterns still influence perception. When a man moves through life with quiet confidence, he communicates that he can handle challenges, that he won't crumble under pressure, that he respects himself. And self-respect changes everything. Because a man who respects himself naturally sets boundaries. He doesn't tolerate disrespect. He doesn't beg for attention. He doesn't compromise his values simply to keep someone interested. And here is something fascinating about human psychology. Boundaries often increase attraction. Not because boundaries are manipulative, but because they demonstrate strength. A person who is willing to walk away from situations that don't align with their values shows that they value themselves. And people who value themselves tend to be valued by others. This is why confidence often lingers in someone's mind long after a conversation ends. A woman may forget the exact words a man said, but she remembers how she felt around him. Did he seem grounded? Did he seem comfortable in his own skin? Did he seem like someone who had direction in life? Those impressions form emotional memories, and emotional memories are what people miss. Let me share a simple example. Imagine two men meeting the same woman at a gathering. The first man tries very hard to impress her. He talks constantly, compliments her repeatedly, and tries to keep the conversation going for as long as possible. The second man engages naturally. He listens. He shares stories when appropriate. But when the conversation reaches a natural pause, he politely says he enjoyed talking with her and returns to his friends. Which interaction is more likely to linger in her mind? Often it's the second one, because the interaction had balance. It had curiosity. It left room for imagination. When a man tries too hard to hold someone's attention, the moment often feels crowded. But when someone allows space, the mind has room to revisit the experience later. Now let's explore something even more powerful: the psychology of potential loss. This concept is one of the strongest forces in human decision-making. Psychologists call it loss aversion. Simply put, people are more motivated to avoid losing something than they are to gain something new. And this principle quietly influences relationships as well. When a woman believes a man will always be available to her no matter what happens, the urgency can fade. But when she senses that his attention is not guaranteed, something inside her mind becomes more alert. Not out of fear, but out of awareness. She begins to evaluate the situation differently. She may start asking herself questions she hadn't considered before. What if he meets someone else? What if I misjudged him? What if I lose the opportunity to know him better? Those questions create emotional movement. And emotional movement is the beginning of missing someone. But let's clarify something very important here. This is not about manipulating people. It's not about pretending to withdraw attention in order to provoke a reaction. That kind of behavior often backfires and creates distrust. Instead, it's about genuinely living a life where your attention is valuable because it is limited. You have goals, responsibilities, friendships, experiences. Your life continues whether a particular person is present or not. When someone senses that you are complete as an individual, they understand that being part of your life is a privilege, not a guarantee, and that awareness naturally increases appreciation. Now think about a situation many people have experienced. You meet someone interesting. You talk for a while. Then life pulls you in different directions and communication fades. Months later, you hear something about them again. Maybe you see a photo of them traveling, achieving something meaningful, or enjoying life. Suddenly, you find yourself wondering about them again. Curiosity returns. You think about what they might be doing now. That renewed interest isn't random. It's the result of emotional space combined with personal growth. And that combination is incredibly powerful. Because when someone evolves and grows while maintaining their independence, they become more intriguing over time. This is why focusing on your own life is always the most effective approach. Not because it creates strategy, but because it creates authenticity. You aren't trying to make someone miss you. You're simply becoming a person whose absence is noticeable. And that difference matters. Before we move to the final part of this discussion, I want to invite you again to share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever noticed how someone's absence made you think about them more than their constant presence did? Or maybe you've experienced the opposite, where someone was always available and eventually faded from your thoughts. Your experiences help create meaningful conversations in this community. And if you're finding value in this discussion, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to Mindful Senior Living. It helps more people discover these deeper conversations about relationships and psychology. In the final part of this video, we're going to bring everything together. We'll talk about the deeper reason women often remember the man who walks away with dignity rather than the man who stays and tries to convince them. We'll also explore how emotional presence works over time and why the man who respects himself often becomes the one a woman thinks about long after he leaves. Now let's bring everything together, because what we've talked about so far leads to one of the most important realizations a man can have about attraction and human psychology. Women don't usually miss the man who tried the hardest. They miss the man who left an emotional impression. That difference might seem small on the surface, but psychologically, it changes everything. Many men believe attraction is built by doing more, sending more messages, giving more attention, proving more loyalty, investing more time. And while effort absolutely matters in healthy relationships, effort alone does not create desire. Desire grows from emotional experience, and emotional experience is shaped by contrast, presence and absence, certainty and curiosity, connection and mystery. When a woman spends time with a man who is confident, grounded, and emotionally present, something subtle begins to happen inside her mind. She may not consciously analyze it, but she feels the experience. She notices the calmness in his energy. She notices that he isn't trying to impress her. She notices that he listens carefully and speaks with intention rather than filling every silence. That kind of presence feels different from the interactions she might have with men who constantly try to prove themselves. But the real psychological shift happens later, after the conversation ends, after the evening ends, after the interaction becomes a memory. Because the human mind has an interesting habit. It replays emotionally meaningful experiences. Think about moments in your own life when someone left a strong impression on you. Maybe it was someone confident, someone mysterious, someone who seemed comfortable in their own world. Long after the interaction ended, you might have found yourself thinking about them again. You replay the conversation. You remember their tone of voice. You wonder what they might be doing now. That mental replay is the beginning of emotional attachment. And that attachment grows strongest when a person isn't constantly present. Constant presence removes the space where imagination works. But absence invites imagination to fill the gaps. And imagination can be incredibly powerful. When a woman begins imagining a man's life beyond the moments she sees him, she begins constructing a deeper picture of him in her mind. She wonders what motivates him. She wonders what kind of partner he would be. She wonders what it would feel like to be closer to him. These questions don't arise when everything is already given. They arise when something meaningful is slightly out of reach. This brings us to one final truth that many people overlook. Self-respect is one of the most attractive qualities a human being can possess. A man who respects himself does not chase people who are uninterested. He does not beg for attention. He does not try to force attraction where it does not naturally exist. Instead, he observes. He engages when there is mutual interest, and when there isn't, he steps away with dignity. This is not coldness. It is emotional maturity, because healthy relationships are built on mutual desire, not persuasion. Now I want you to imagine two different outcomes in a situation where a woman seems uninterested. In the first scenario, the man continues pushing for connection. He texts frequently. He tries to convince her to see him again. He explains how much he likes her. Eventually, she may feel overwhelmed or pressured, and the interaction fades away. In the second scenario, the man recognizes the lack of interest and responds differently. He remains kind. He remains respectful. But he redirects his energy toward his own life. He invests in his work. He spends time with friends. He pursues hobbies and experiences that bring him fulfillment. And something interesting sometimes happens over time. The woman begins noticing his absence. She may see glimpses of his life moving forward. She may realize that the man she once dismissed isn't waiting around for validation. And that realization can trigger curiosity. Not always. Attraction cannot be forced, but often enough to reveal something important about human psychology. People tend to reevaluate what they once overlooked when they see its value elsewhere. And this is why the man who walks away with dignity often becomes the one who lingers in memory. Not because he tried to create that outcome, but because he lived in alignment with his self-worth. And self-worth has a powerful emotional signal. It tells the world, I value myself enough to invest my energy where it is appreciated. When someone operates from that mindset, their relationships become healthier. They no longer chase approval. They choose connection. They no longer seek validation. They offer presence. And presence given freely, rather than desperately, carries much more emotional weight. Now I want to share something important with you, especially if you've ever felt rejected or overlooked. Someone not recognizing your value does not reduce your value. It simply means the alignment wasn't there in that moment. Every human being is complex. We are shaped by timing, experiences, emotional readiness, and countless invisible factors. Sometimes two people meet at the wrong time. Sometimes they simply want different things, and that's okay. The goal is not to convince every person you meet to feel attraction. The goal is to become the kind of person who attracts the right people naturally. That happens through growth, through emotional maturity, through developing confidence rooted in self-awareness rather than approval. And when you build a life that excites you, a life filled with purpose, friendships, goals, and curiosity, something remarkable begins to happen. Your presence becomes richer. Your conversations become deeper. Your energy becomes more grounded. And people feel that difference. Women feel that difference. They sense when a man enjoys his life, whether or not he receives attention. They sense when his happiness is self-generated rather than dependent on validation. And that energy is magnetic, because everyone is drawn to people who seem alive. Now, before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to say something directly to those of you who have been following this conversation all the way to the end. The fact that you're here, listening and reflecting on these ideas already shows something important. It shows you're willing to think deeper about relationships. You're willing to examine patterns. You're willing to grow. And growth is one of the most attractive qualities anyone can develop. So if this conversation gave you new perspective today, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more people discover these discussions, and it allows this community to continue exploring the psychology behind relationships, connection, and emotional intelligence. I would also genuinely love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment where you chased someone too hard and later realized stepping back would have been the better approach? Or maybe you've had the opposite experience, where someone suddenly showed interest after you stopped chasing. Share your story in the comments. I read them personally, and many of the conversations there turn into future topics for this channel. Because mindful senior living isn't just about me speaking to a camera, it's about creating a thoughtful community where people learn from each other and grow together. And before we end today's video, let me leave you with one final thought to carry with you. The man who is remembered is rarely the man who tried to prove his worth. He is the man who quietly knew it. He is the man who respected his time, his energy, and his life enough not to chase validation. And that quiet confidence is what lingers in someone's mind long after the moment passes. In the next video, we're going to explore something equally important and surprisingly misunderstood. Why giving a woman your full loyalty too early can sometimes cause her to pull away, and what healthy emotional pacing actually looks like in relationships. So make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when that conversation goes live. Until next time, take care of yourself, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next video.